to go. All right, at this time, we'll call our December 7th council meeting to order. Can I have everyone please stand and salute the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jamie, could you please read the Sunshine State?
Be advised that proper notice has been given by the Township Council in accordance with the Sunshine Law in the following manner. Notice advertised in the Burlington County Times and Camden Carrier Post on January 7th, 2021, and posted on the bulletin board on the same date. Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Jenny?
Here.
Ms. Pareo?
Here.
Mr. Lyon?
Here.
Mr. Burrell?
Here. Next up, we have our proclamations, but due to a scheduling conflict, we'll move them to next month's council public meeting. And before we get to our action items, we have a pre-action item statement we always make that please note there may be limited discussion about the action items voted on today because they were either routine or discussed at a prior work session. At the prior work session meeting, the council debates and diligently analyzes the details of every action, all in conjunction with our professionals and staff. Today at this public meeting, we're taking formal action on many of those discussions. So first up is our minutes for approval. I'll seek a motion approving the minutes for September 7th, 2021 public meeting.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Jamie, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Jenny?
Aye.
Ms. Pareo?
Aye.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Except we have our ordinances on second reading which require a public hearing. First up is ordinance 2021-22. The ordinance of the Township of Delran, Burlington County, New Jersey, amendment to the Township Code and creating Chapter 90 entitled Trees. Since this is the second reading, it requires a public hearing, so I'll ask for a motion and a second to open the floor to the public comment.
Motion to go into public. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Our floor is now open to public comment for resolution for ordinance 2021-22. This is entitled Trees. So if there's any comment or questions related to that ordinance and that ordinance only, please raise your hand. Deb? You can just come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Deb Hammond, and I live at 230 Paddock Way. I'm here tonight as the representative for the Municipal Delran Green Team. We want to commend Council for taking bold action to protect our trees. Trees are the best defense we have in the fight against climate change. Trees provide numerous ecological services. They absorb the rainwater, minimize erosion, lower temperatures in the summer. We all saw firsthand what happens when sites are clear-cut. Residents adjoining the Stellwag property experienced excessive runoff. This example shows that the benefit of trees reach beyond property borders. For this reason, we support the requirement that the property owners obtain a permit before removing a significant tree, which is more than 12 inches or about 36 around, like my husband. If more than 3 trees are proposed for removal, a replacement plan is required. Trees that are dead, diseased, or causing damage to existing structures don't count towards the replacement plan. But we hope that the property owners will elect to trim rather than remove healthy trees. But if they decide to remove, that they will plant another tree. While the ordinance does not preclude clear cutting, it does require the property owner to replace trees removed. We hope the requirement will encourage developers to protect existing trees rather than clear cutting the site. Our existing ordinance required a 1-for-1 replacement to the extent practical. The new ordinance recognizes the value of large mature trees by establishing a tiered replacement framework so that if the tree removed is more than 30 inches in diameter, pretty big, 6 replacement trees are required. The ordinance also creates a dedicated tree bank to receive all the payments collected pursuant to this ordinance. We hope that this fund will be used exclusively to purchase, plant, and maintain trees on township property, where the required number of replacement trees determined by the tree removal and replacement plan can't be planted on site. A payment in the amount of $350 per tree will be dedicated to the tree bank. While trees may not be replaced on site, this will allow the township to plant trees on township property. The ordinance also includes some other great provisions. Property owners with approved landscape plans will be required to remove and replace damaged, diseased, or damaged trees. The ordinance also promotes diversity, which will minimize the impact on future invasive insects or disease on trees in neighborhoods. Many have seen the effects by the emerald ash borer, which killed many beautiful big ash trees in Tempe Chase. It will also prohibit the planting of species such as bamboo, which is highly invasive and difficult to remove, and the flowering pear trees, which tend to split. We encourage council to adopt the new ordinance. The ancient Chinese proverb says the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. While we may not see the impact of this ordinance tomorrow, it will ensure we leave our children and grandchildren a better Delran. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Appreciate your comments. And Al? If you could just state your name and address for the record, please. Thanks.
Al Carp, 33 Oneida Avenue, Moorestown / Delran. The economic benefit of trees. Even when weighed against the cost of planting and maintenance, trees make good sense as investments both for individuals and communities. One well-placed tree can reduce air conditioning cost alone up to 50%. Trees used as windbreaks can save 20 to 50% in energy used in heating. Windbreaks can also control blowing snow, thus saving on plowing costs. These measures mean reduced energy demand for the power companies, resulting in less air pollution. Shade trees protect asphalt surfaces, and this potential of reducing repaving costs by as much as 58% over a 30-year period. Yard trees in good condition may add 15 to 20% to the sale of a home. They also have been shown to reduce time spent on the resale market. Landscape trees impact property values, but they also provide external benefits to society, such as improved air and water quality, by removing and storing carbon and helping to control erosion. Globally, trees help remove fossil fuel. A USDA Forest Service study found that trees removed about 1/3 of all fossil fuels emissions each year from 1990 to 2007. In addition to cash value, trees reduce human stress, contribute to better mental health, and even longevity. They improve child development and aid in the reduction of domestic violence. These and others go beyond dollars when viewed in terms of human happiness. Remember, it takes moments to remove a tree that may have taken decades or sometimes centuries to grow. So think long and hard before you decide to take it out. And if it must come down, maybe you can plant something else somewhere to begin to take its place. Trees are the answer to climate change. The question is, what will you do to help? I quote, "Trees are the best monument that man can erect to his own memory. They speak his praises without flattery, and they are a blessing to the children yet unborn." Lord Orrery, 1749. Now, as part of this, we want to have a Delran Trees and Honor program. How best to remember special people, pets, or events. Honor a newborn child, grandchild, graduate, special person, pet, or a day. Celebrate a special friend, teacher, mentor, or boss. Remember a healthcare worker, police or firewoman, an essential worker who may have helped you when everyone else was forced to stay inside. Commemorate a deceased loved one or a pet, or a special day. By donating to our Trees and Honor program, you will be ensuring that a tree will be purchased and planted in the township that will provide a place to visit and reflect on those memories. We will be providing more information as the time goes by as we're working on this project. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Al, and thank you, Deb and Al, for all the work, members of the Green Team as well who are here, for all your guys' hard work and dedication behind the scenes. I know there was a lot of work to get to this stage of the ordinance, so we thank you guys for driving that ship. So any other public comment on ordinance 2021-22? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to close the floor.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. The floor is now closed. I'll now entertain a motion to adopt for second reading ordinance 2021-22.
So moved. Second.
Jamie, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Jenny?
Aye.
Ms. Pareo?
Aye.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. The ordinance is adopted. Congratulations. Next up, we have our resolutions. Resolution 2021-186 that's authorizing the release of a portion of the aggregate excess loss contingency fund. Could be a motion in a second.
Motion.
Jamie, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Jenny?
Aye.
Ms. Pareo?
Aye.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye. The ayes have it. The resolution carries. Next up, we have our consent agenda, which includes resolution 2021-187 all the way to resolution 2021-191. Are there any objections to the items in the consent agenda? I'll ask for a motion in a second for the items in the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Second. Any second?
Second.
Jamie, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Jenny?
Aye.
Ms. Pareo?
Aye.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye. The ayes have it. The consent agenda passes and the resolutions therein. Next up, we have our motions. We need a motion authorizing the payment of all bills, including all purchases made under the cooperative purchasing agreement.
So moved. I'll second.
Jamie, could you call the roll?
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Jenny?
Aye.
Ms. Pareo?
Aye.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye. Next up, we need a motion accepting the report of the CFO, including the November year-to-date revenue report, year-to-date budget report, and November check register.
So moved.
I'll second.
Jamie, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Jenny?
Aye.
Ms. Pareo?
Aye.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Next up is a motion accepting the report of the tax collector and township clerk.
So moved. Second.
Jamie, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Jenny?
Aye.
Ms. Pareo?
Aye.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye. Motion carries. The ayes have it, so the motion carries. Next up, we have a motion granting mercantile license to the 4 businesses therein on our agenda. Can I get a motion in a second?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Jamie, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Jenny?
Aye.
Ms. Pareo?
Aye.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Finally, we have reports. And starting off first, as a custom at our public meetings, we have reports from our emergency services professionals, members of the fire department. Chief Peak.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
The department right now is up to 605 total calls for service for the entire department, 39 of which calls came since the last meeting. We've assisted with the EMS on multiple calls for service and assistance. On November 11th, the Chester Avenue station went to Burlington as a standard mutual aid cover assignment. En route, they were pulled into the scene to assist with post-fire activities and job performances on scene. On the 1st, the department, along with several mutual aid companies from around our local, responded to 73 Alden Avenue. It was an early morning call, came in just around 1:30 in the morning. First arriving officers were, we had large volumes of fire out the front of the house. Luckily, the occupant was able to escape the house, barring very, very minimal injuries. The fire was brought under control within a half an hour, again, thanks to our department's response and mutual aid response around our area. On the 6th, last night, Chester Avenue Station went to Florence in another mutual aid response for a special call for a writ assignment. We were pulled into the scene directly right off of our dispatch, again, to assist with post-fire activities on that scene. Bridgeboro Road Station has responded to Willingboro and Morristown multiple times for their calls of service, again, on automatic mutual aid. Couple special things we have going on in the town this month. On the 11th, we have a Christmas drive-through at the Chester Avenue station. Again, pending the weather. I see the weather's going to get a little iffy near the end of this week, so that'll be on the 11th in the evening hours. And on the 18th is our Christmas Santa run around town. Every year we put Santa on a fire truck and we try to hit every town in Delran, or I'm sorry, every street in Delran, so that people could come out, see Santa, wave to them, and put a smile on everybody's faces. We've been doing that for many years now, and it's been a hit every single year. So the 3rd and the 4th, as you all know, we lost a very valuable member of our department, Charles S. Kendra, 52-year life member of Station 2, past chief of Station 2, past president of the Board of Fire Commissioners, 8-year member of the emergency squad, amongst very many other titles, dignitaries, certifications, citations that he's received. I do appreciate those members of the board that came out to pay their respects to the family and the fire department on the 3rd, and I thank you for everybody's help and assistance with us on the 4th for the funeral. We did give him full fire department honors, and it was he was sent off the way that he would want to be sent off, very respectfully and honorably. In closing, I just wish everybody happy and safe, happy holiday season, and we'll see you guys next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Commissioner Bauer. Good evening.
Good evening. The only thing I'll add, the chief hasn't got the full report on that, on the Alden Avenue fire. We did obtain security cameras from the house across the street. Yeah, you can see a patrolman doing his patrol. After he passed the house, approximately 5 to 7 minutes later, you could start to see the smoke in the street lights. And then probably 5 to 7 after that is when the resident broke the window to get out, and then the entire building erupts into flames. So as much as if the patrolman was 5 minutes sooner, he may have saw the smoke. However, in my opinion, if he had forced entry, he would have certainly been injured, and maybe the occupant may have not gotten out because it would have done the same thing to him. So I'm going to say that was a good thing because the resident did get out. The other thing I have is our office staff. We lost our other full-time inspector a few years back with COVID-19 and all. We didn't replace him. We've since had our 2 part-time employees in the office have found full-time jobs elsewhere, and it's good for them. So the board has decided to promote part-time inspector Joe Cunningham Jr. He, starting on the 14th, will be the full-time inspector. So the fire marshal's been handling it all himself and doing a good job, but we need that other person. So glad it was a resident of Delran, so it's all good. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Joey, on the promotion. Well deserved. Next up, we have a report from our clerk, Jamie Eggers. Jamie, anything?
I have no report tonight.
Thank you, Jamie. Next up, from our administrator, Jeff Hatcher. Make it go on.
I don't have a report, but since this is my last Township Council meeting, I would like to read some comments. My retirement takes effect December 31st, and I'll be utilizing remaining vacation days to close out the year after this week. Anyone who knows me knows that the last thing I really want to do is get behind a microphone and speak about myself, and so I'm not going to do that. However, after serving here for 32 years and 6.5 years in 2 other towns, there are some people I wanted to thank that I've met along the way. First and foremost, obviously, my family, my wife Connie and our kids Kyle and Taryn. They were born here, they grew up here, and they had to provide me a great deal of support, and they had to deal with 38.5 years of attending council meetings, joint insurance fund meetings. played around with it, somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500 meetings. Frequent after-hour phone calls, evening walks, and attendance at sporting events where people come up and ask questions about township business when you're trying to watch your kids' sporting events. And they cooperated, they understood, and I appreciate their patience and support during the years. Secondly, I'd like to thank those elected officials that I've served under in Delran. I'm not sure, somewhere between 9 and 10 mayors here in Delran, but I appreciated the confidence they had in appointing me each term. In addition to the council people for whom I've worked over the years, there have been some really outstanding people, and I've appreciated the opportunity to work with some of these exceptional people. Third, the workers of Delran Township. They've been exceptional, and I don't think you'll find a better level of service given to any town through these employees. Each and every department is truly exceptional, and the residents are lucky to have those employees working in the township, serving the residents to the best of their ability. The relationships I've developed with department heads and some of these employees has been tremendous, and I think that they've met the people who came before the current employees, set the bar high, and I think our current employees have met or exceeded those expectations. I'm specifically not trying to mention names because there's just too many to mention specifics. I also want to thank other entities and our volunteers that we work with closely and have served the town in a number of capacities. You've heard from a number of them this evening, individuals that have worked for the fire company, the emergency squad, RAC, planning and zoning board members, green team, athletic organization, volunteers. These are the people that make a town and not just a location. Finally, I want to thank the residents of Delran Township. It's been my honor to serve and had the opportunity to work in the town I was born and grew up in my entire life. 40 years ago, I'll just tell one little story. 40 years ago, I pitched the idea of working an internship, a 6-month unpaid internship with the township when I was in graduate school. I came to the mayor, at the time it was Mayor Schmier, and Township Administrator Joe Kane. After my pitch, Mr. Kane asked me what I wanted to do in 5 years. I answered that I wanted to sit in his chair. It took me 6, but I didn't expect to stay in that chair for 32 years, and I didn't expect it to be the exact same chair for 32 years. With that, I thank everyone for the opportunity to work here, and I wish everyone well. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. The next up, Mayor Katzenbone. Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. I know Jeff couldn't have been comfortable doing that. That's not his normal MO. I have a couple things I'd like to just mention. First of which, congratulations to the Golden Regiment once again for an incredible season. As Council President Burrell mentioned, we were planning to do proclamations this evening, but due to a scheduling conflict, they'll be moved to a future meeting so that all the kids could attend. Along with them, the high school boys soccer team who won the states once again will be congratulated at a future meeting. We'd like to congratulate the 7-Eleven on a successful grand opening this past Friday. We're especially grateful to their Project A Game for their donation to Delran's music program. Project A Game is 7-Eleven's community outreach program, which focuses on providing meaningful youth development opportunities through education and play, so children establish strong foundations and resources that support their future successes. Also this Friday, I had the honor of officiating my first wedding as the mayor of Delran. It was great to be able to be part of this truly special evening for the bride and groom, and I wanted to extend my congratulations to them once again. For those folks who are interested in having a quick and simple civil service, feel free to reach out to my office if you need an officiant. And as most of you already know, Charles Kendra Sr. passed away last week. Chuck was a 52-year-long life member of the fire department, during which time he served as the chief of Fire Company Number 2, as well as president of the Board of Fire Commissioners. He qualifies as an institution in Delran. He dedicated his life to supporting and mentoring and guiding so many of our first responders. They are all the better for his half-century of influence, and that was evidence later on the same evening, because while grieving the loss of Chuck Kendra, our Delran Fire Department, mustered all of the dedication, bravery, and commitment that he instilled in them as they were called back to duty for a residential fire that was mentioned earlier on Alden Avenue. Few people can set aside profound grief at a moment's notice and approach their task with the expertise and courage that our Delran Fire Department did that night. And that is the legacy of Charles Kendra Sr. They will live on in every single member of our Delran Fire Department. And finally, after decades of dedicated service to our township, as Jeff mentioned, this is his last meeting before he retires. I just wanted to personally thank him for his guidance and support for me over the last 13 years and all of the mayors and councils that he served before us. Well done, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Next up, we have from our solicitor's office. Jen, anything tonight?
I've got nothing for you guys tonight.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next up, we have reports from members of council. We'll start off with our Ward 1 Councilwoman, Virginia Perea. Councilwoman?
Yes, Jeff, Delran has been fortunate to have had you as our business administrator. In my opinion, the best one around. You will be missed, and enjoy your retirement. I highly recommend a trip to Spain. I think you'll love it. And again, thanks for everything. That's all I have for this evening.
Thanks, Councilwoman. Appreciate it. I definitely think you should take up the Spain offer. Next up, we have reports from Marlo Smith. Councilman.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just want to thank the firefighters once again. Fantastic work. All these guys always do a great job. EMS and the police as well. Would also want to thank Jeff Hatcher. He's done a fantastic job. One of the newer members of council, but definitely appreciate your expertise and guiding me, and I appreciate your professionalism, and you're definitely going to be missed. Lastly, I just want to let everyone know, please enjoy the holidays. Be safe, have a good time. It's the time of year when everyone wants to gather, so just be mindful. It gets darker earlier. Make sure you're watching out for kids playing in the streets. Sometimes don't always look both ways before they go out into the street. So I almost experienced that myself about 2 weeks ago. So just wanted to make sure everyone's still being vigilant when they're on the road. End of report.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Next up, we have reports from Councilman at Large, Lynn Jennings.
Thank you, Council President. I also like to just recognize Chuck Kendra for his services to our community and his dedication to the fire department and the other services he belonged to. Speaking of dedication, I couldn't go without, and I don't think we can say enough about Jeff Hatcher's tenure here in Delran, the great services you provide our community, the enthusiasm which you performed them in. So I knew you as a resident peripherally and got to know you over the last year more, and my impression of you as an outstanding administrator has not changed. Congratulations, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. Next up, we have our Vice President of Council, Vice President Tom Lyon.
Thank you, Council President. Jeff, happy retirement, long, healthy. I've had the opportunity to work with business administrators from East Windsor all the way down to Pennsville, Carneys Point, and all points in between. And I can say that Jeff is one of the most competent, professional people I've had to deal with, and I believe he will be sorely missed. And very, very steady hand here in Delran. Even though I've only lived here since 2010, he's made quite an impression upon me. Going to the 7-Eleven, our high school students, the choir sang a rendition of the national anthem that was just outstanding. The band was there. Hats off to those young folks, those young adults. They did a great job. And the donation that the 7-Eleven made to the music portion of the high school, that was awesome. Grand Boulevard, the speed signs went in. We did a traffic calming there. I think we're almost done on that. Hopefully that helps people to slow down. So we protect our kids as they go over to the ball field. And then condolences to the Kendra family for what was a great level of service throughout the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Appreciate that. And for my remarks, first I also want to, thank our thoughts and prayers are with Kendra's Kendra family. And as we all have mentioned today, he's truly a public servant who's dedicated his life to Delran, and we're all grateful for that. And thank you to the fire department for giving him the last service that he, something he would have wished for and been proud of. So thank you for that. And as much as to belabor the point about Jeff, I know how much he loves us talking about him, but I figured I'd say a few things myself to wrap it off. But we just want to extend our congratulations to Jeff on his retirement. It's a happy moment for him, but also I think a bittersweet moment for members of council and our administration. I don't think I'm going out on a limb when I say Jeff is truly the glue that holds the township together, working each and every day to ensure we're on the right track, managing the budget and day to day here in the town. He's really the CEO of the township. And without him, what we want to do or plan to do, really can't happen. And he kept his job, as he said, I think it was 32 years, right, Jeff, through different mayors and councils and different political views, which really is a testament to his steadfast leadership and his institutional knowledge that's worth its weight in gold. But most importantly about Jeff, I think he's just a great person, individual, personally. When I was first elected, 20 years old, he gave me a call and invited me into his office for an orientation meeting. I really didn't know what to expect, but we ended up having a great conversation. And as a green council person, he gave me some guidance and some words of wisdom that I still carry with today. So I'm forever grateful for that moment. But in all seriousness, we will miss Jeff here in Delran. We're happy for him, though, for his years of service and a happy and healthy retirement. But Jeff, you're always welcome back whenever you're around. When you're not in Spain, we'd love to have you back. But with that, that's reports from all of council. So we'll now open the floor to public comment. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Our floor is now open to public comment. Before we begin, we'll state our rules of decorum. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and you will be recognized. At this time, you may approach the microphone in the front, state your name and address for the records. All remarks should be addressed to council. An individual speaker will be allotted 5 minutes of time. All statements are part of the public record, which is both written and video and audio recorded. It cannot be redacted or retracted after the fact. So with that, is there any comments or questions from the public? Mr. Gilbert.
Bob Gilbert, 75 Stewart Avenue. You're deserting us. You're one hell of a man. You do a good job. I don't think they're going to find anybody to replace you. I mean, as the president said, you held this place together. You knew the ins and outs of every little detail. And they're going to miss you so bad, they're going to bribe you to come back. I mean, there's nobody else that could do the job that you were doing. Jeff, thank you for what you've done. You said, this is not kind of directly, I wanted to ask the mayor a question about how Mr. Wilson's widow is doing.
Well, I don't know that.
Well, if she need,
Why don't we talk about it?
yeah, because if she needs any help of anything, let me know. I'll contact people and see if we can help, if she needs help in something.
Mm-hmm.
I know she's having a hard time probably with his DD 214 and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, let me know
Let's circle back.
and I'll see what I
offline.
can do. Another quick thing. Today is the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. I watched some of the stuff on TV today. There are only 248,000 veterans left from World War II. And we're losing them at 200 and 95 a day. In less than 3 years, there won't be any World War II vets. In 3 years. They pulled this nation together as far as I'm concerned. Wouldn't want to have to go through that again to pull this country together. But the constant bickering, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent, has got to stop. We got to do what's best for us, this country. Not what's good for China, not what's good for Russia, us. We should be number one. With all that fanfare. I have one question. I know, at least I think I know, on December 2nd, the Corps of Army Engineers met with, who'd they meet with? I don't know, can't remember who it was.
They met with the administration and
Huh?
they met with Jim, our engineer, and the administration.
Yeah. Do we know how that meeting went?
Yeah, Mayor, do you have any
I think
updates
Jeff
with that?
would be better to respond.
Yeah, I can answer it. We did have a meeting with them. They are supposed to have a plan that they'll forward to the township council by the end of the year.
By the end of the year.
With respect to what the cost will be for the plan for the erosion of the berm. And that's just a plan, but they should have something to the township council by the end of the year. They said it should be completed. So when they said it, I don't know if they'll physically have it by the end of the year or early next year, but that's when they intend to.
Do they want to have a talk to any of the residents that live down there? The Corps?
I don't know at this time. When they do their plan, they may do some information gathering with the residents. They did not comment on that.
Okay. There was one thing else, but I can't remember it. I'm getting old. 32 years. I've been at my job for 38 and a half years already. So, all right. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Gilmore. Any other comments? Just please state your name and address for the record.
Just brief. My name's Cara Botino, and I live at 111 Pelham Road. I was here 2 council meetings ago. I just asked or requested if someone could take a look at some of the street matters. You guys did give attention to that, so I just wanted to say thank you, and just say thank you to all that you've done and are doing and continue to do to make our streets better for drivers and pedestrians and everything. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming back. Any other public comments? Just come on, state your name and address for the record, please.
Barb Littleton, 317 Chestnut Street in Delran. So I have the easiest part of my questions for you guys. Is there anything that can be done about the drive-throughs that exit or enter from 130? Because what we're seeing, and the pandemic's been going on so long, that people are going through the drive-through and holding up traffic onto 130, and I can see that at like McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, and it's really dangerous. It just slows down that area really, really bad. So I don't know if there's anything that can be done about that.
You mean it's a drive-through at McDonald's?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we can take a note and see if there's something we can do with them about that. I can't guarantee a solution with that, but
I know
familiar
a
with what
lot
you're
of them
talking about.
are circling around, but that one's really difficult to circle around. The same thing with Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
You can't circle around the building and create that longer line. But I think that's sort of kind of a zoning thing that happened when they were first built. But if we can look into that and see if there's something that we can do there, I think it will help the residents out a lot.
Yeah, there's actually a county put together a commission to look at those 2 intersections, and there's some like large master plan eventually to one day connect those 2 intersections, but it's very in-depth, so it's a concept idea, but there's some people, you know, with bigger shoes who are looking at improving that, but we can definitely follow up and look into that.
So the next things on my agenda, sort of kind of going back to the conflict of interest issues that we brought up before. I believe that The newspaper article that came out today said that there's going to be an investigation to see if there's a better way of dealing with conflicts of interest and that kind of stuff. Can you guys speak to that?
Yeah, I don't recall any part of that saying an investigation. Maybe I misread it, but what council is going to do is take a look at our anti-nepotism ordinance, right? That's on the books. It currently only applies to employees, so we're going to take a look at that at an upcoming work session. We also put out an RFP for a special counsel / ethics counsel that we can use moving forward to advise on situations like this. So that's where we're at right now.
What I would like to see to come out of this, because I know some of the things that we've been talking about may or may not be illegal, but I know I work for the federal government, and we have very specific guidance, and even a perceived conflict of interest we have to steer clear of. So definitely, if you guys can take a look at the federal ordinances out there, you might get a better idea of sort of kind of something that would help here as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yep, good idea.
As far as the bids, we have seen some evidence last week. I asked some questions about Colin Rafferty's email about the threshold, and you guys said you couldn't speak to, or the last meeting, I should say, not last week. You guys said you couldn't speak to his emails. Did you guys go back and talk to him to find out what's going on with those emails and what was meant in those emails?
There was no, we haven't gone back to Colin and in a formal sense, no. As we've talked about before, it's been, the whole process was done with the advice of our solicitor's office.
So I just want to throw it out there. I would like to hear from each of you that pretty much that's what you were doing, because even if that's the case, you have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that those laws are upheld. So even if you didn't know that you were violating a law and that the bids were split, in not knowing, you did not uphold your fiduciary responsibility. And that's a very difficult conversation, and I understand that, and I am throwing it out there for you guys. But we can clearly see that there was a bid initially for $150,000.
I got to correct you right there. There was no bid for $150,000.
You can call it what you want, bid, quote, proposal, concept, whatever you want. You knew that someone had put out a quote that if you had all of those things together, it could be up to $150,000. You went out to them and said, whatever you said, got a second bid. It was still over the $44,000 threshold. And now, afterwards, there's two separate bids for those same types of services that were on that initial bid. So I don't know what you define as bid splitting, but to me, that says that's bid splitting. I'm not an attorney. I'm not even going to try to act like one, but I can read. I do understand certain things. And that says to me that we knew we were above the $44,000 threshold, and we did not take the action that we were supposed to and do the bid process that was supposed to be undertaken. I understand what you're saying, that you were going along with what the solicitor said, and I'm not even going to say his last name because I'll just slaughter it. But what the solicitor said, but you have that fiduciary responsibility. And in my opinion, my personal opinion, I think you guys failed the township on that. And I'm just going to throw that out. Each and every one of you failed the township on that. Last week, when we asked the solicitor to answer some questions, he didn't. He kept saying, I'm not going to answer it. And none of you made him answer those questions or go back and ask him so that you could come back to me. So you guys talk about transparency, but you don't come back to us and show us that you have a transparent process. When we ask a question, that you really care what questions we ask, and that you want to find the answer, that you really want to give us the answer that we're looking for. I don't feel that I'm getting that from this township. So that's another recommendation, because I am not just about finding issues, but I'm also looking for solutions. So that's another recommendation I can tell you guys, is maybe we can come up with a process of documenting the residents' questions or the public's questions during this type of thing, taking them back. Sometimes you're not going to be able to answer the question. And if the solicitor said last week, I can't answer that, but or the last meeting, let's take that away and we'll bring that back to you during the next meeting, I would have been fine with that. So maybe that's what we can take away from this, is that's how we can fix it. Write down the questions, say, I'll get back to you, come back during the next meeting and give us the answers. Do your investigation, do your research, and be able to answer the questions. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other public comments?
Hello, my name's Scott Duco, 3 Gun Forest Road, Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Congratulations, Jeff, on your retirement. My first question goes to you. It's an email from Jeff, Gary, and Tyler. Gary and Tyler. I just want to point out to you that both of you that the budget for our special events in the RAC budget has been exhausted by the contracts and invoices that have already been approved and encumbered by the finance department. We cannot authorize any additional invoices, contracts, or purchase orders unless additional funds are provided, as it is unlawful to do so. My understanding is that there are financial contributions that will be coming through our Chapter 159 dedication by rider for special events. But until those are received, the finance department cannot authorize these commitments. Can you explain to the public what that means?
At the time, well, there's Chapter 159, I'm sorry. Chapter 159 is a special item of revenue approved by the state. The township, I think it was in 2018, submitted to the state of New Jersey for approval for fundraising, donations, to receive donations for special events. And it was approved by the state. At the time that was written, we had encumbrances that equaled what we had in place for special events and for the Chapter 159. I was advised that there were donations coming, and it was indicating to them, until those donations are received, I can't sign any more, or the finance department can't sign any more purchase orders.
So no more purchase orders until the
And then the
donations
came
are
in
received.
later. Yes.
Okay.
And let me just be clear one thing too. When I make that comment, it is for special events. There was actually additional money in the recreation advisory budget. The state only cares about 2 things in terms of the budget. It's a salary and wage and an OE. What I was referring to was a sub-account in the OE. I recognize that Councilman Burrell had indicated he still wanted to do the Winterfest, and so there would have to be some funds available. There was actually funds available, but in the specific special events subline item, it had at that point been encumbered.
Thank you. As Barbara had stated, I've been involved in this, doing research, working in the backgrounds as an assistant, and through this whole process, we have not heard from any of the other council members on what's going on here with this situation in regards to the Carly Lloyd event and beyond that, because as we'll see, there's other things associated with this event that, you know, moving past the event. It's not, we love Carly. We're not here to attack Carly Lloyd or attack the town for celebrating what she did, but I think it's more of the way that it's been produced, the way that the whole situation has unfolded. So I have to ask you, were you aware of solicitor's order to to split the quotes. Were you aware of that email from Colin to the vendors of the event?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking Jeff this first.
No.
So you
No,
weren't aware.
The only quotes I got were the final quotes.
So you weren't aware that Colin had sent an email over to the vendors telling him he had to split the contracts?
No.
You weren't aware of that. Okay. And then I'll propose that question to the rest of you on the council. Were you aware of this?
I want to be clear. We speak as a council. This is an individual cross-examination, but the answer for all the members of council is no.
No one was aware that
Nobody was
Solicitor
aware.
Sal and
Anybody-
Colin were in contact regarding the spending of the town's money. So no one in the council was aware of that.
Can you? What was your question again? Can you please say that again? 'Cause you've
Were
changed
you,
it now.
were you aware that Solicitor Soliciano had told Colin that the bids had to be separated, split, divided in order?
Nobody was aware of that.
So the solicitor was
standpoint.
acting on his own when he gave Colin the order to split the quotes.
Yeah. Yes. This was the REC consulted with the solicitor, and that was the advice that happened. And then council comes to our council meetings with the advice of our solicitor and the administration and staff, go through the process or procurement process, and that's where we got here to the dais, and we move forward with our resolutions and ordinance to keep moving forward. So, Sal doesn't call every member of council for every piece of legal advice he gives here.
He just
probably
gives
calls-
his advice. Okay.
I mean, anyone in the township can call his office up and ask for advice if it's a zoning issue, whatever goes on. He gets calls all the time. That's his role as a solicitor. So there's certain things people are aware of, certain things people aren't aware of. But it's just ordinary course of business. for
No,
this
I understand. Thank you for clarifying that. My next question would be, in the time from August when the Carly Lloyd event was starting to be planned, how many emails were sent between, I'll answer my own question. There were hundreds of emails regarding the Carly Lloyd event, correct? Everyone was involved. Everyone was trying to get this Carly Lloyd event going. In that time, there was, according to the Oprah request, there was only 9 emails sent concerning the solid waste removal, the trash stuff going on in the town, which is a huge contract, which is a lot of money being spent. 9 emails. Hundreds for a Carly Lloyd event, which was a one-time thing. Get it. Great star, great hometown hero. How can the council explain that? 9 emails over a contract that's going to go for 3 years at an extremely high rate, much more expensive than the neighboring town of Morristown, higher taxes, larger population. You guys are paying more for your trash removal. 9 emails.
I think it can be answered very succinctly. I would think, one, the number of emails that's sent on any particular issue doesn't determine the gravity of any situation, right? I mean, I think that's kind of ludicrous, let's be honest, that the amount of emails sent determines the importance of an issue. Now, I'm not saying, but what I'm not saying is that the trash was a non-issue for us. It was actually a significant issue. There was a very significant amount of time spent on the phone with members of council, Jeff's office specifically. There's emails back and forth from Jeff's office. There's memos that were talked about in closed session from Jeff. There's a significant amount of time. And trust me, the trash contract, and as you rightfully said, I think is one of the most important contracts council enters in and perhaps in their term. So there's no disputing that. To get down to your question regarding the price, right? I think that's where you're going with this. We sought bids, right? Bids went out according to the state law. There's a 60-day window to solicit bids. Actually, 3 vendors reached out to Jamie's office. Jamie, the clerk's office, she provided those bid specs in accordance with the law. 2 of those potential bidders chose not to bid after having the specs, and the only bidder left was Republic.
Can you name the 3 bidders?
It was, I believe, Jamie, it was Republic,
Waste
Waste
management.
management and gold medal.
Gold medal, correct.
Gold medal were the
So
three.
they were all aware of the specs, they got the specs and chose not to bid. And actually, based off of other conversations we've had with other managers, and Jeff behind the scene had conversations with other township officials about this. This is not a one-off decision. We have an internal memo with different prices from other townships, right? So this is not like a decision that was made in 30 seconds, or a 9 email. But through that process, we found out that other vendors, waste management in particular, during COVID, were particularly not bidding on townships. And based on our understanding, what we've been told, through the grapevine, is that they're positioning more towards commercial, businesses, like warehouses and things like that. But nobody was thrilled with this contract. I can assure you that.
It's not a thrilling contract.
No. And I read a 2-page statement into the record at the meeting where we awarded the contract. Nobody here was thrilled about that, trust me. It's actually internal discussions. I asked Sal's office and Jeff's office if we could go out to bid again on it, but we decided strategically that would have left us in the same
So
spot.
why sign a 3-year contract then?
That's what they offered it as 3-year, right, Jeff? There's 3 and there's 2 extensions.
That was the option that we selected at the time of the bid.
Yeah.
So
If
in
we go out to bid
comparison with the
and we
neighboring
said-
town, they extended and then worked for a better contract, working for a better contract, but we're just, okay.
Morristown had to extend their contract because they couldn't bid in time and award a new contract before the other one expired. We bid significantly in advance, so we had enough time to do that. Morristown put themselves in a bind.
Okay, thank you. I
Yeah,
guess
if you
my
could- last question. 'cause
Last
we're
question.
really,
What were the council members aware of Mayor Catrambone's relationship with Center Stage Entertainment and Go Events, and that they're registered to the same location? Were you guys aware of this?
The answer is nobody on this dais was aware of the relationship with Go Events, who owned Go Events, and what Go Events was when it was position rates. Bills come to the township. We have a bill list that's in the back of the room, right? Nobody on council. We rely on our CFO, our administrative team, our solicitor's office, all to prepare that, right? We don't go through and check who owns each business, right? That's just not how it works, right? Now, we have to check. We have an ethical duty to look for things ourselves. It's all reviewed. So,
Right.
if someone sees something that, hey, that's so-and-so.
Right, as you spoke to Barbara, we're gonna look into having a more ethical way of doing things. So
We're always going to look at ways to improve, I think, and I agree with her sentiments about, you take something, you learn from it, right? You take some time, and then you take a step forward, right? And you have to constantly improve. If folks who know me know I say that all the time, that if you're not improving, you're already behind. I say that often at work. They hate me because I say it, but it's very true. But the answer to that question is no. Nobody at this day is new
no one was aware.
of Go Events.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other comments from the public? Commissioner Bowen. This will be your first time as a non-commissioner, okay? Great.
James Bauer, 816 Edgewood Avenue. Jeff, on behalf of the emergency services, both fire and EMS, I can't thank you enough for all you've done for us. We've had some easy times and we've had some tough times. You always listened to all points of view and always did what was best for the town. So I can't think of a more respected person in this town than you, and we're going to miss you. And I wouldn't want to follow you because that person's going to have a hard time.
Thank you. Yeah, someone has big shoes to fill, for sure. Any other public comments?
Good evening. How you guys doing? Patrick Duff, Haddon Heights. Been for the fourth week I've been back in Delran. I love the town of Delran, I tell you. That's why I'm doing this. I wouldn't have spent this much time in any other town if I was investigating. I usually do big cities, things like that, try to things that are going to get national news. Now, the town of Delran was on the news today. You were in WHYY, and not one of you made a comment in your comment section. That's sad. I mean, come on. You were literally put on the news, allegations of bid splitting, allegations of nepotism and conflicts of interest, And in your comments, you refused to even acknowledge it. You ran on an air of transparency. Imagine that. You said you're going to be the most transparent council in Delran's history. If that's true, then what were the other councils? I mean, was the door even open? Could people even watch? So I have a couple questions. Actually, I wanted to use I'll be right back. I want to use a piece of paper for my exam here. So on August 30th, you were CC'd to an email that had a contract from Starlight for $150,000. So I'm just going to use these as an example. So you had one contract, a
Mr.
quote.
Mr. Duff, before you begin, it was not a contract.
Okay, what would you call it?
It was a proposal.
Okay, okay. When you do a request, what do you do a request for proposals for, right? You do a request for proposals so you can get a proposal so then you can either accept it or not, correct?
Yes.
So it was a proposal, correct?
It was not in response to a request for proposal, but it
What was it in response to?
a call to Starlight and ask for what it would cost.
Okay, so do you agree that there was one contract for $150,000?
No, I agree there was a proposal.
One
for
proposal. You'll call it a proposal, right?
Sure.
Would you agree that there was by the way, when I asked for all quotes from the township only sent me the quotes that were below the $44,000 threshold. Is that correct, Mr. Burrell?
I don't know. I wasn't privy
Okay.
to that I believe you.
When I at the two meetings ago, I then produced that contract that I received from a third party, and then I was sent the other contracts, which were supposed to be all the contracts that were above the $44,000 threshold, right? But just today, swear to God, today, I received another Oprah request that shows that there was not just one, there was not just two, but there was 3 contracts from Starlight that were above $44,000, or proposals, the second one being for $73,500. Were you aware of that, Mr. Burrell?
No.
Were you aware of that, Mr. Hatcher? No. Okay. We have 2 proposals, 150, 73,500. Third proposal was for $61,500 from Starlight. You were CC'd to this. You were CC'd to this, Mayor. You were CC'd to this, Mr. Hatcher. And I apologize if you weren't. Were you aware that there was a third contract or a third proposal offered from Starlight for $61,500? So you never saw the proposal for $61,500. Okay. So the fourth contract that came from Starlight was for $39,000. Were you aware of this contract? Yes. Did you also help Delran acquire stage services in 2019? Did you sign a purchase order for stage services from SLM Entertainment for $9,602? Okay, I can say you did. The stage was $9,602. As a quality purchasing agent, isn't it your job to make sure that the items that are being bought are the value in which they are?
Can I ask a question? Because I had no involvement in
Jeff, can you just turn your mic on for the record?
in dealing directly with these vendors. I don't have any knowledge of stages or video. There were other people that were doing that, not me.
I thought
I don't know
you
if
were
you
involved
could
in everything in the town. It was just said, you know, every in and out in this town.
Sir, my department heads go out and they purchase equipment and they come back to me. They get the quotes, items along those lines. I look at them. If they meet it, I'm fine with it. They'll explain to me what's going on. And that's what happened in this instance. There were people that were put in charge of acquiring those items. I know nothing about stages and theoretic lighting or any of those items at all.
Do you know? Can you please explain to the township of Delran folks? Do you know what bid splitting is?
I know what bid splitting is, but
Is it illegal?
I believe it's illegal, but I also don't think. Again, I wasn't asked the question, and nor were these bids. And that's what you need to understand. I know we don't want to bring that issue in. And I wasn't asked the question, so I don't know what conversation took place between Colin and the solicitor, but these were not bids. And bid splitting is usually, let me answer the question.
Could I just ask?
Bid splitting is usually when you take volumes of an item and you split it to get below. These are not volumes of items. I don't know if it were brought to me, I would have sent it to the solicitor because I wouldn't have known the answer either because these were separate items. It was video boards and lighting and stages. That's not cutting in half volumes of an item.
Would you agree that if there was a contract that included all these items, would you agree that if there was the contract above $44,000 that included all these items, that was then, remember, a $61,500 contract was torn in two, one
I don't know,
half
because
for video
as
services,
far
one
as I
half
know, there
for the
weren't
audio and
contracts.
stage? Would you agree that if that happened, that would be considered bid splitting?
I honestly don't know.
So, just to be clear here, the fact is that while all this is going on, you're planning the party for Carly Lloyd, and hundreds of emails are being sent on behalf of the township, literally letters to every business in Delran seeking donations. The only produced emails for the entire trash contract the township can produce are 9. And now I find that is, as you say, it's a very important contract for the township. You say that you had to go with the one bid, and on the township it says that you must basically go with the service. Could the township have extended the contract for a 60-day period and sought new bids from other companies?
The answer to that is yes, but if we had one bidder for the first.
I don't think it was going to be a yes.
Well, you'd have to get a.
So there's a disagreement here?
The contractor was losing hundreds of thousands of dollars each year on Delran. I had a conversation after the bid came in, and I spoke with the contractor and said, can you explain this to me? Because I've never seen anything like this. And he said he was losing hundreds of thousands of dollars each of the last 3 years in Delran. That COVID was a major issue in terms of addressing this issue, is they couldn't get their equipment, they couldn't get personnel. Anybody who manages a business knows what businesses went through trying to get personnel and equipment, and they were losing money on Delran, and that we have a liberal bulk pickup so you can't compare it to a town that gets it once a month. We have it every week. People can put bulk pickup out, and we have a higher level of service. So you need to look at those things, but I agree, the contract came in high, but we bid it legally. We didn't have any other option at that point in time because there's a 60-day, not a 30-day, there's a 60-day requirement to advertise.
So, and just that being said, the 60-day requirement, could you have asked for an extension on the current contract that you had?
They weren't going to extend it. I spoke with them. They were not going to extend it. They were losing money.
So Morristown, though, extended the contract. They were able to do that.
They got permission from their vendor.
Yeah, understood. And is there
Hold
proof?
it.
Is there proof that you requested this? Is there proof that you requested
I'm
it?
going to respond to you whether you want it or not. Okay? Completely different situation. We had a contract coming to an end. They had a contract that had 3 years with a 2-year extension. Their contractor came to them and said, we don't want to go the next 2 years. Put them in a hole where they didn't have time to advertise it, and they said they were willing to extend it at a higher rate for 30 days because Morristown was letting them out of the contract. It's a completely different situation than what we had.
And the last question is that, you know, the township said that they sent bid proposals to all the trash companies in the area and allowed for a 60-day period for them to respond. But in the emails, it's clear that the companies reached out to the township, and maybe the clerk can verify this, and said that the bid proposals were not available online like they legally should have been, and that the bid proposals were not sent to the vendors until July 8th. And that's when the clerk sent the bid proposals. So the township, in fact, did not reach out to any trash companies themselves. The trash companies reached out to the township seeking bid specifications that should have been available online. So did the township, in fact, reach out to all these companies? And if they did, where are the emails? And is there an email to prove, or a correspondence to prove that you had this conversation with Republic regarding the trash contract?
I have an email with a memo
that
I provided.
Mr. Duff, there's an email with the memo. I've
I've had nothing provided.
there's as I mentioned to your friend over there about the conversations that were provided and the 3 vendors that we sent the bid specs to, and 2 of them chose not to. That's the answer.
They reached out to us, though, isn't that correct,
That's
for the
correct.
bids?
That's
We did
correct.
not reach out to them, correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
Do you think that the township did a service to the community by sending only 9 emails on behalf of the trash contract, but hundreds on behalf of Carly Lloyd?
I don't agree with that assessment. Your assessment.
Do you think that that is a good use of the township's time?
Mr. Duff, the trash contract is entering into contracts to that extent is something that's ordinary course for for townships. Putting on a Carly Lloyd retirement party is not something that happens every day, and there's not a playbook that we pull off the shelf and go through. If you're going to let me, you ask questions, you're going to get responses. Yes. Do you understand? So can you please let me answer your questions? So, there is going to be more emails. There's more people involved, more departments involved in putting together an event in, a month and a half time than an ordinary course of a contract that probably Jeff and the administration have awarded hundreds of contracts, not hundreds of trash contracts, but a handful of trash contracts and significant contracts in the past. So the amount of emails that are sent, I understand your question, but I don't think the amount of emails that are sent determine the gravity of a situation or the importance of it.
I think what it determines is the effort that the council made and the mayor made and the administration made on behalf of the people of Delran to achieve the best result in a 3-year contract when you wanted to achieve the best result in a 2.5-hour party, which included giving contracts to nephews, including taking 2 contracts, which you will not admit, which is, can I ask you just a real quick question?
Mr. Duff,
the $61,500 proposal, what was different between the $61,500 proposal and the $39,000 proposal?
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know.
You should be able to answer that. One was a concept proposal. What was the next one that you
I
signed
don't
a contract for?
I don't know the difference between the 2, and we didn't sign a contract for $60,000.
You signed it for $39,000. You signed one for $22,500, the same exact amount. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
As a $61,500 contract for the same services. Isn't that true?
No, they're different services, Mr. Duff.
I mean, it's listed on the contract, Mr. Burrell.
Yeah,
It's so, it's sad.
Mr. Duff,
This,
we went through
this is so sad that you've been presented with this evidence. That's in front of your faces. And you refuse. Listen, this is the problem with America, and that people are so partisan that if somebody smacked them in the face with a turd and it was their own Democratic member, they would just look the other way. Well, you're all being smacked in the face with a turd right now, and none of you are saying nothing. I say shame on you. Shame on all of you for not making a comment about being put in the paper. Shame on all of you for not admitting when you're wrong, because you were wrong. And if you can't answer the questions, then it's obvious that you're guilty.
Thank you, Mr. Duff. Any other comments? Last call. Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to close the floor.
Motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our floor is now closed. I'll now ask for a motion to approve Resolution 2021-192, authorizing executive session to discuss personnel matters related to the township administrator position.
So moved. Second.
Jamie, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Jenny?
Aye.
Ms. Pareo?
Aye.
Mr. Lyon?
Aye.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye. The ayes have it. The motion carries. The resolution is adopted. We'll now go into executive session. We'll be back in our public meeting if there's any action to be taken. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back on the public record from our executive session. There is no action to be taken, so at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Good night. Thank you.